Bienvenue sur ma plateforme. Je suis Nouveau Trini et vous présente le cinquantenaire du Black Power Movement. En tête du cortège, un des leaders d'il y a 50 ans, suite du cortège, des images d'il y a 50 ans.
Trade unionist Clive Nunes was among the protesters in Cinquantenaire. When it starts at this location, outside what was
Kafra Kambon, un autre leader d'il y a 50 ans. Sylvie Maharaj, la maîtresse de cérémonie.
Director Heritage Library Vision. Our guest speaker in absence here, Mr. Kafra Kambon, he's on his way. Miss Lizelle Daga, the wife of the chief servant, recognizing especially today, Karamana
Daga,
employee of NALIS, well respected librarian here amongst us. Mr. Aigo Ume, founder of the Senior Hay Center, the chairman of the National Action Cultural Committee. Members of the National Joint Action Committee, Mr. Mbao Ini, who's now the former Minister of State and the President of NJAC. Ms. Tyson Noel, my former colleague on the board of NALIS. Mrs. Aintu Springer, who was here with us just a while ago. The staff of NALIS, other specially invited guests, members of the media. As the chairman of NALIS, I want to begin by publicly thanking, as Suniti did in her closing, the staff of the Heritage Division for their unstinting efforts to keep the dream alive, for their innovativeness, for their patience and persistence, and as well our preservation and conservation teams, for the work that they have done as well in ensuring the legacy that we will see behind us, the legacy of these documents, the artifacts, and other paraphernalia are kept and preserved for generations to come. There are several moments that define a country's growth and development. The lowering of the Union Jack and the hoisting of the red, white, and black flag of the newly independent Trinidad and Tobago in 1962 was one such occasion. The acceptance of responsibility for our own state of affairs that came with the adoption of the Republican Constitution in 1976 and Hazley Crawford's gold medal run in the same year are two such events. Iowa George winning both the Soca Monarch and the Road March in the same year might one day qualify as one of those defining moments. The Black Power Revolution of 1970 is certainly one such occasion. The revolution forced Trinidad and Tobago to look in the mirror and to look at our society and admit the fractures, admit the deep divides that persisted in practically every aspect of our societal construct. The revolution forced the government to recognize that the commanding heights of the economy were in the hands of those whose interests were not always aligned to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The revolution forced the Catholic Church to recognize the role it had played in buttressing the pillars of white patriarchy. And let me echo the words of Archbishop Gordon here today as well. No one painted this statue as black. The revolution forced us to recognize as well the deep racial divide that existed and was actively perpetuated by those whose self-interest trumped the national good. Indeed, one of the most enduring images of the revolution was the banner that shouted, "Africans and Indians unite." But a revolution, my friends, is more than a war or a change in economic control. It also includes changes in the power base and the social and economic base of a country. 50 years later, can we, with straight faces and heads held high by the strength of our beliefs, say the ideals of the revolution have either all been fulfilled or fulfilled substantially? As I cast my eyes upon this Trinidad of mine, and with the greatest of respect to those who have gone before me, I have to admit, the revolution is far from over. Indeed, for me, The Black Power Revolution of 1970 was merely the first act of an unfolding drama. For our young black males who are prepared to burn down the village in search of the warmth of parents and to satisfy their longing to belong, the revolution is far from over. For our young black females who accept the blandishments of the gunman as he services his revolver, the revolution is far from over. For those of us still caught up in the fight between Rasta City and Muslims, the revolution is far from over. The revolution is far from over when Afro and Indo-Trinidadians are still divided by the accidents of geography that place them on either side of the Caroni Bridge. The revolution is far from over when, despite the fact that we can now work in the banks and other financial institutions, the majority of the shareholders are still those whose cars cost more than our houses. The revolution is far from over when politicians still measure progress by how many East Indians are in leadership positions in the police service or seated on the benches of the Caribbean Court of Justice, and others who warn people about the impending arrival of Calcutta ships. The revolution is far from over when the Emancipation Support Committee and the National Council for Indian Culture still go cap in hand every year to successive governments for funding to host their major events. As the chairman of NALIS, I wish to suggest that the means to advance the revolution are located within these walls, and the walls of every public and school library scattered throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Here in this building, on the first floor, sits one of our most valuable resources, the daughter, Karaman, of the chief servant. A happy irony, as she is both a resource and has the capacity as a librarian to point others in the direction of where other resources lie. Later on this month, we will reopen our Heritage Library as another of the principal resources available to all and sundry who wish to keep the dream of the revolution alive. The current violence plaguing our society is not an overnight phenomenon, and the solution is not to be found only in matching fire with fire. I have maintained in the past, and I do so today, because no one has been able to prove me wrong. When language ends, violence begins. We in NALIS are committed to not just keeping the ideals of the revolution alive, because those ideals are articulated in the many collections of books we have available to us, but in advancing the revolution by making ourselves, by making libraries more accessible and more relevant to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It is our duty, I submit, to shape and mold our country, and when we do not, we are neglecting our obligation to freedom. Freedom will not last unless we continue to maintain it, just as no building lasts without maintenance. The same is true of our country. Today, most of Trinidad and Tobago have no clue how much was done by our foreparents to ensure we have what we now enjoy. Hence the air of entitlement that accompanies many of our misguided activities. The task is ours, therefore, to educate them, to inform them, and co-opt them eventually in the journey to lasting freedom. So welcome one and all to the home of the new revolution, where information is power and data is your new currency. Thank you and welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Of the Roman Catholic Archbishop began to calculate the ways in which the church, the Catholic Church, has been changed by the Black Power movement, because it was the target of one of the very first target of that sense of alienation, people's alienation from the spirituality of their country. And we are going to find a lot more. We are inclined to believe not much has happened, but you would have had to be there to know how much has happened, how much has changed. And our next presenters will be a living expression of those changes. That whole sense of what it means to be black, what it means to be African, in Trinidad, what it means to be Indian in Trinidad, what it means to be outside, marginalized by the formal power structure in your own country, and to assert yourself and your cultural identity. That was one of the most powerful impacts of the Black Power movement. Here, clothing, storytelling, and worship, all these became avenues of creative expression, which embodies our culture. Here to express a sliver of that expression is a foundation that is fully committed to reviving the oral traditions, promoting youth leadership, and encouraging community development. Please join me in welcoming the Roots Foundation of Trinidad and Tobago.
Again, as she introduced us, we are from the Roots Foundation, me being myself, and the other performers coming after me. The Roots really starts with the revival of our oral traditions, and we really use those oral traditions, spoken with extempo, midnight rubber, peregrine to really bring issues to life. Not only that affects, of course, the nation at large, but what we call vulnerable youth and at-risk circumstances, so I hope you all see the relevance of the piece, and then we're going to get into the next one. Is that okay?
Yes. With a challenge here, and a challenge there, you are sure to find. So arm yourself with your dictionary and thesaurus, because you will need to know why my spelling is so bumptious. Why are you all staring at me with such trepidation? Does not this costume conform to the peregrinage tradition? I am not your typical peregrinage. I was sent on a mission to rescue the youth of Trinidad from a war that is destroying our community, a war between the Muslim and Rasta city. And to continue this discussion of our chairman, of our Muslim now fighting Rasta man, and give me the story using rhyme and allegory. The other day I talking to my Rasta sister, Zakia, about Ethiopia, and she telling me that land was once called Abyssinia. I said, sister, wait till you know about that land. Says she, Ahi, spell it now, and you will understand. So this Muslim going to show that Rasta that I know about Ethiopia by spelling for all the word Abyssinia. Islam and Rastafari are two great religions. Their history are rooted in Judean traditions. Their customs and beliefs most times complement the teachings of the great prophets of the Old Testament. Now you might say, that wine has nothing to do with Muslim and Rasta, and yes, I agree, it is based on drugs, crime, and murder. They love the persona of being Rasta and Muslim, but they lack that love, peace, and discipline. They don't even know the history of Ethiopia, of how King Negus protected the Muslims of Mecca. He said, the difference between your religion and mine is thinner than the line in this sand. Yesterday we shed one another blood and slaughter one another across the land. They are killing our sons and our daughters. Children are afraid to play across community borders. 9 o'clock in the morning, there's blood all over the pavement because there's gunman in behold, leave sacrament, fire burn now, move up. Brothers, paradise lies at the feet of our mothers. O prodigal son, come back home to Abba, our father. So if you are truly desirous of living the life of a Muslim or a Rasta, let's stop the killing. Love one another. Change your behavior. And remember our father, Abba Senior. And that is how to spell Abba Senior.